Okay.
All right.
All right.
So welcome committee members and delegation folks. Let's get the meeting started with an approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion? Ben, and all in favor? Looks like we're there. Okay. And adoption of the minutes, a motion. McKaylee, all in favor? All right. Let's get going to the next part. There we go. Public comments? Any public comments coming in? Don't think
Not
so.
other than the delegations.
Okay, delegations. I've got Bowen All Wheel Society. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Do you want to go ahead, Luke, or I don't?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure where to start.
Yeah.
Just I guess to talk a little bit about our initiative and what we're doing. We've got a group together, and we are trying to move forward with the collaborative process with the municipality on building an all-wheels park. We've had some really productive meetings, and support is there. We're just kind of trying to nail down a location. Yeah, Dave, do you have?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. We've got, sounds like about 750 supporting signatures right now. We were planning on going to council with our first kind of presentation. Thought the second or third or fourth week of October. I think it was the 20th or the 27th. And we had some great meetings with Carla over right below the existing bike pump track. And that is a piece of land that we're very much interested in.
Yep.
So I think there's some zoning involved there, but we're just really just here just to express that the community in the early stages has showed a real interest in this. It's something that's been attempted a few times throughout the history of Bowen Island, and we really think we got the group and the support and the potential piece of land to make this happen. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yep. So can you folks fill us in on your society and your project?
Well,
Yeah, so
go ahead, Luke. Yeah.
yeah, we've had I mean, probably about, I think there's 8 of us core that have been in since the beginning. Kind of multifaceted group, Dave with previous background on development. I'm a builder. Another one of our members, Kendra, was spearheaded the West Side Playscape. And we just have a diverse group that are trying to get this thing going. We meet every 2 weeks to discuss our next steps. Yeah, we've spoken with some contractors that do develop these parks, and are just trying to see what it entails and what we can kind of get ahead of and bring to the municipality to make this go forward.
Okay. So tell us about the park. What's it for? What are you going to? Who's it for? What are your hopes for it?
Well, we're looking just the rough size is 3,000 to 4,000 square feet is kind of what we're looking at, Luke?
Yeah.
Around that kind of size. It is definitely for the youth of Bowen Island. We've got Miles Rubin, who's on our little committee, and he's very involved with youth and great counseling and that sort of thing. So really, we think anything that helps gets kids off their screen time, and in a social environment with other kids, being active outside is a good thing for the youth of Bowen Island and a good thing for our community.
Yeah.
So that's really the big picture is what our objective here is. And then we are just in the early stages, so we don't have a design. Like Luke mentioned, we're talking with skate park contractors that specifically build skate parks. So the next step is kind of showing them the land and the contours and how we want to include certain trees and maintain this kind of Bowen natural feel, but still have a cement skate park. And that's kind of what we're focused on right now.
Yep. McKaylee, do you have a question?
Yes, I wanted to know what types of vehicles we're expecting. It sounded like this was an all-wheel park, so is this for
Yeah.
four-wheel drives? Like,
No, it's definitely no. So it'd be skateboards, obviously. Those two-wheeled scooters with the hand. You see them all over. Bikes. There's some mini bikes, like nothing motorized.
Rollerblades.
okay.
Rollerblades. Yeah, there's a good one. Roller skates. But yeah, no real motorized. I don't even think e-bikes should be welcome in that sort of environment. But so we're being exclusive of all wheels, not just a skate park.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
Okay, Ben?
Thanks for coming, guys, and thanks for telling us a bit about this. I'm wondering a little bit more about the land that you're talking about. Are you talking about right where the bike park currently is, like sort of repurposing that, or?
Yeah, so
Right.
it's just before the where the bike park is. There's a plot that's there that's quite flat, and it's where the end of the outdoor learning area is, in between those two.
And is that municipal land, Carla? Is that something that we have access to? Yeah. Is it part of a park, or is that just sort of not designated?
Thanks for the question, Ben. And I'm happy to get a little chance to speak as well, just because I wanted to clarify that I asked David and Luke to come here really last minute. So forgive them for not having a huge presentation ready. The reason that we're still like in early days and talking about this just a little bit to try and figure out where a good location would be. This is all pending council approval and a lot more conversations and exploration around, is this something that the community wants? Is this a good location? And is council supportive are I guess the main questions. But yes, that the reason that I asked them to come today is because that parcel of land is part of a park that is not correctly zoned to put in an all-wheel skate park. And so I asked them to come speak today so that we could potentially include that parcel in the rezoning package that we're discussing as the next agenda item. I think it's currently, I don't know the current zoning, but it's a zoning that is a park zoning that was carried over from when it was part of the Metro Vancouver lands. And so the whole parcel is the same zoning where the bike park is. And the bike park, we could do that through the zone. We're allowed to do bike trails in all zones, but not community recreation sites. So yes, it's a park. Yes, it's municipal land, but no, it's not correctly zoned for a skate park.
Any other questions from committee members? Well, I must say that you folks show a lot of enthusiasm, and so that's really important in getting a project done. So I hope that you have success. It's I think it's a community activity that is good for the kids in the community.
Thank you. Yeah, we agree.
So with no other questions, do you guys have more you want to talk to us about?
No, I don't think at this point in time. No, I'm sure we'll have further discussions. But working with Carla's been great, and we'll just kind of continue along this path we're on. And I think you'll next see us at the council meeting. I think it's on the 20th, or it's a committee of the whole on the 27th. One of those days, I can't remember, but that's where you'll next see us. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for your time, and I'm glad you were able to make it to us on Zoom.
Hey,
Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thanks.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bio. All right. So, that's the only delegation. I see that Phil Osborne is listed here. Is he going to make a presentation about anything?
No, thanks. I'm
Okay.
just, I'm in the middle of commuting at the moment, so I'm trying to keep a low profile in terms of my microphone so that you don't get all the background noise.
Okay. Well, thanks, Phil. Just checking in with you. Okay. Council referrals, proposed park rezoning. So our planner, Xerxes.
Hi,
Okay.
yeah, I have a presentation to share.
Yep, we see it.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Chair. So yeah, I'm just gonna discuss the park zoning really quick. Just for background, so at the last PCAC meeting, the park rezoning project was introduced this committee. So we introduced about 18 parks to undergo zoning changes to provide certainty and clarity as of the parks. So make sure the parks actual like land use designation they're aligned with their actual uses. So it's hoped these changes would protect the parks potential residential development on these lands. So yeah, right now most of the parks are zoned for either comprehensive development, rural residential, or settlement residential. And all the proposed zones would be either multi-use activity park, natural neighborhood park, or natural park. So as examples of a park that isn't proposed for rezoning, I've included Catesville Neighborhood Park and Catesville Nature Park, which are P3 and P4 respectively. So neighborhood park and natural park. I couldn't find a visual example of a P2, but a P2 park, which would be like a multi use activity park, would be Veterans Park. All right. So just to refresh, parks, the proposed zones for the parks were chosen to align as close to the 2018 Parks Plan as much as we could. And yeah, so so the 18 so one of the 18 parks, so this would be Aaron Sluggett Field. So it's currently zoned, as you can see, comprehensive development, and we're proposing to rezone it a multi-use activity park, similar to Buchanan Park. It's also currently zoned comprehensive development, and it's proposed to be zoned to a multi-use activity park as well. Davies Park is currently zoned rural residential, and it's proposing to change it to natural park. Evergreen Park is zoned comprehensive development, and we're proposing to change it to multi-use activity park. Evergreen Park is also zoned comprehensive development, and we're also proposing to change it to multi-use activity park. Headwaters Park currently zoned comprehensive development, and we're proposing to have it become a natural park. Hunter Park is currently zoned settlement residential. We're proposing to have it become a natural park. King Edward Bay Park is also zoned settlement residential right now, and we're proposing to have it become a neighborhood park. And yeah, similar to Malkin Creek, zoned comprehensive development, we're proposing to have it changed to a neighborhood park. Mike's Lorg, similar story, comprehensive development, and we're proposing to have it become a neighborhood park. Seymour Bay, comprehensive development, and we're hoping to have it become a multi-use activity park. And this undeveloped and inaccessible plot of land. It's currently zoned rural residential, and we're proposing to have it become a natural park. Yeah. And Art Renaissance Nature Park, it's also currently zoned as comprehensive development, and we're proposing to have it changed to a multi-use activity park. Similar to this unnamed park on the west side of the island. It's currently zoned as comprehensive development, and we're proposing to have it become a multi-use activity park. Similar to this plot piece of land across from the West Side Playscape, it's currently zoned as comprehensive development, and we're proposing to have it become a multi-use activity park. Similar story, also comprehensive development zone right now. And this plot land, it's also proposed to be used as a multi-use activity park, similar to Joan Audrey Lane, currently also comprehensive development, and proposed to be zoned as a multi-use activity park. Similar story for West Side Playscape. It's also currently zoned as a comprehensive development, and we wish to have it be rezoned into a multi-use activity park. And the new one is Lot 2. So as you heard earlier, the proposed where currently the bike park is, and possibly all wheels park. This would be the same lot as the community center is, but it's currently the part of the community center, it's split zoned. So the part where the park is currently zoned as a passive park, and we would propose to have it rezoned into a multi-use activity park. Okay, yeah, and the recommendations are the same as previously, so that this community support the proposed land use changes, and that we will bring the recommendations for the new zoning to council for consideration. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Xerxes. Do we have any questions from committee members? Just from me, I've got a fairly simple question. Can you run through the types of park designations and a little description of them?
Yeah, so the park, so we have 4 park zones in our land use bylaw currently. So they would be passive park, so P1, multi-use activity park, P2, which has like most range of uses from open space, interpretive center, athletic park, hard surface courts, play fields, playgrounds, and then neighborhood park, which would allow for like hard surface courts, outdoor assembly, play fields, playgrounds. And then the last one would be a natural park, P4, which only allows for an interpretive center, and like the main use would be for nature protection, but it would allow for trails and yeah.
Yep. So I missed the definition for passive park.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the passive park, it would allow for open space, an interpretive center, and play fields. Which yeah, I guess the main difference between that passive park and natural park could be passive park allows for play fields and outdoor assembly.
Okay, thanks. Any discussion from members? Sue Ellen.
I have a question. Maybe it's more about the most recent one that we just heard about today. Did I understand it's one of your last slides there, Xerxes? Was that the whole piece of land, including the current bike park, that would be zoned as P2, or is part of it already? can you explain the zoning and which parts would change in the proposed all wheels park?
Yeah. So currently, this is the piece of land is all like, it's all from the community center all the way to the bike park is all one lot, and so it's the zoning is split. I guess a bit north of here. So the part that's zoned for park the part of the lot that's zoned for park right now is zoned as a passive park for P1. And yeah, I guess that would be the part of this parcel that's like beyond the parking lot.
Is that the part adjacent to Crippen Park?
Yes.
Okay. And then the current bike park, is that in the passive park? I guess I don't know what split zone means.
Split zone would be like one lot has two different zones. So I mean, I countered this a bit back in low. You could have a place, you could have a giant lot that partially zoned for residential and partially zoned for agricultural, where the residential part would be in the residential zone part, and the agricultural stuff would be in the other zone. And so similar to this lot, the northern part is zoned as a park, and the part where the community center is, it's zoned comprehensive development. So it would, yeah. So a piece of land essentially has two zones.
Okay, so one parcel,
Yeah.
two zones that set out different sets of uses. Is that right?
Yes.
Ah, okay, thank you.
Yes.
And so now going back to my original question then, the current bike park, which zoning is it in?
It's zoned as a passive park.
Oh, so it would need to be rezoned too?
Yes. In order to allow for an activity such as a skate park.
Or even maybe a bike park. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess it's time for the question. Sarah, can you put up the motion?
Yes, I can do that right now. Is that working?
It's waiting. There it is. Yep.
Is it? Okay, perfect. Let me just pull it here.
So the motion is that the Parks, Environment and Climate Action Advisory Committee supports the proposed land use designation for the listed parks, and that the recommendation for new land use designation be brought to council for consideration. Any discussion on this from folks? Did I see Sue Ellen put her hand up?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Does this include, when it just says the listed parks, does that include the Lot 2 bike and all-wheel skate park area? Or should we put a number in there like the listed 18 parks, or what's the appropriate number? I'm just thinking this could cause some confusion in the future, and maybe I'm getting a little confused right now.
Yeah, when I wrote that, I did intend for it to include the lot 2 rezoning. If we wanted to make it clear, I guess we could.
Does it add, as long as it adds up to 8? Oh, thank you. I see that Sarah is typing in clarification.
How's that?
How's that for everybody? Works for me.
One more thing, there's lots of lot twos on the island.
Yes. Is there a better way for me to describe that?
Community surplus lands, lot 2. Or just community lands, lot 2.
Beside the school, beside Bix? Well, anyway, that's okay. It's just going to council, so that's fine. Okay.
Of the community lands or whatever.
Okay.
I have a comment, Will.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Claudia. I didn't see you.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little hesitant because we just saw the list of, what was incorrectly classified and what the new classification is, but this recommendation makes it sound like I agree with all those designations, and I couldn't go that far to say that, because we didn't go through each one, what is it, and have a input into or agreement on, okay, what is the best? I mean, I know the work's been done, but not by us. And so it's, to me right now, it's a list. These were the designations assigned. I guess I'm convincing myself to abstain from this vote because I mean, if we had the time, it would be, which parks maybe could be natural parks as opposed to parks with activity. Like we didn't dig into that at all. So that's just where I'm sitting with it. Thanks.
So thank you, Claudia. I see Carla's got her hand up.
Thanks, Bill. I just want to clarify that Xerxes and I worked on choosing the new zones, or the proposed new zones for each park. And we chose those based on what could happen there. So they're less restrictive than maybe what the actual use of that park is going to be. But I just wanted to make sure that we weren't restricting, like we weren't using restrictive zoning when, there's like some of the zoning is quite restrictive. It's like there's nothing allowed in there except for a trail and possibly an interpretive sign. And I just think about parks like Buchanan Park, where there's a small swing set back in the woods and that kind of thing. So if the park was accessible, in a neighborhood, especially with neighborhoods that don't have a lot of parks, and not just around a stream. So anything that's surrounding a stream, that's a nature park, right? But anywhere there was further development possible, because we don't know what's going to happen in the future, we try to make it less restrictive for that reason. I think that we wouldn't develop those all as playgrounds, something like that would be a decision that would be, I think, that the parks plan designations are more important when you look at making decisions like that. Because when we do something like a parks plan, we get a lot of community feedback, and that's more of a guiding document for us. The zoning is more of a restrictive thing that,
I guess
certain things.
yeah,
So that's kind of why they were chosen. I'm just
thank
give
you,
you more
Carla. I guess my concern would be that you're making them too restrictive is problematic, but also opens up those areas down the road, 20 years down the road when, different people are involved and it's like, oh, well, look, this was zoned for all these activities. So it almost gives the go ahead, whereas the restrictions don't have to be seen as a negative, that they actually restrict development on a parcel so that it can be maintained in a natural state. But again, they're all perfectly labeled. I just don't have all the information to say that I agree with each label.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm with Claudia on this one. I think that we don't have all the information for each of the parcels to be able to kind of decide easily whether it's exactly how it should be zoned, or to comment on that zoning that Xerxes presented. It's a little bit difficult to do that without a full set of information, I think. And I guess that I would see that as being a pretty important function of the committee.
Can I add just a couple of things? Just first, Xerxes, do you mind putting up or sharing your screen that has the zoning definitions, or sharing that particular slide rather than the recommendation? And I just wanted to say one other point that I would make is just that the purpose for the rezoning isn't to decide what we do in those zones necessarily. It's to add another layer of protection to parks. So currently, if they're settlement residential and the province says you need to start developing smaller plots of land, even though right now we think they're protected because it's too small of a plot, and we've done the maximum amount of development for that particular subdivision. If the province comes in later and says, no, you should be developing smaller plots of land, then we don't have that protection. But if they're zoned as park, any park, then they would have another layer of protection, and we would have to go through, I believe, a vote to get them rezoned as not park. Anyways, this is what's allowed in the different park zones, and I just wanted to show that just so people had a reference to it, because I don't think it was in the reports. That's all.
Thank you, Carla. I see Claudia has her hand up.
Yeah, I'm totally in favor of them all being rezoned to parks. And I think maybe we did have a recommendation that this was brought to us before, that yes, we're in favor of designating them now as parks. Absolutely. It's just the individual parks, and maybe that is something we just reword in the recommendation, so that we're on board with the designations changing to a park designation, but not the specifics of which park each were changed to. Thank you.
Thanks. Oh, I see Phil's got his hand up.
Yeah, just a clarification. Thanks for that, Carla. I just wondered if, once they're designated parks of any type, is there flexibility within that designation to move between different park types? If for example, there is concern about adding a feature to a park, but maybe that's not an appropriate use of the park. I'm just concerned about making a snap decision on a zoning designation without knowing necessarily what might be the most appropriate for a specific park.
So we can't put a general park zoning on the parks. They have to be a P1, P2, P3, or P4. And then if you wanted to change from a P4 to a P1 or anything else, that would require another rezoning process. I was going to say that I think Sarah suggested as well that we could have a workshop on this, or potentially if Xerxes sent around his PowerPoint, if we didn't want to have a full workshop, that could be some people could have a look at that and comment on each one. And I don't know how we would, and then maybe discuss it at the next meeting, but maybe people want to explore that a little bit.
I think that's a good idea. I would go for the workshop, and one thing that could happen pre or post the workshop is a field trip. Where we go and have a look at, we might identify some parks that we're not sure about that would be, that we could maybe make a better recommendation if we'd seen it and discussed it on site. Claudia.
Yeah, I'm sure we could really eliminate some of the parks that don't need further discussion, like ones that we all know already have multi-use, and so they've been labeled multi-use. So it would be maybe focusing on the ones that are in a more natural state, and yes, the ones that are less known, like a park on Joan Audrey Lane, things like that. I would be interested in a walkabout and then a workshop. And yeah, we can't take, I'm sure there's lots of the parks that don't require review, but maybe some of the smaller ones do.
Thank you, Claudia. Any more?
Sue Ellen.
Sue Ellen?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm. Thank you, Xerxes, for bringing your slide deck. That was really helpful. And just following on, I wonder if you could circulate those slides so that we could look at them, and that would help us narrow it down to which ones we might do on a site visit and or workshop or whatever is decided. Because I hadn't seen those. I just thought the slides would be really helpful. I don't think you had them last time. Anyway, I would like them.
Yeah, through the chair, I'm happy to share the slides.
Great. I'm just wondering if I haven't heard from Ben and McKaylee. Do you have any input that you'd like to make, you two? I see a head shake from McKaylee.
I think
Same.
I'm good too. I appreciate the input from the other members, and I think taking a look at the slides would be good. And maybe just one question of Carla, if there's any sort of timeline you're hoping to be getting this sort of through in, should we be getting on this right away?
Thanks, Ben. Well, I think Xerxes probably has a little bit of a timeline. This is a strategic initiative from council, and I think probably we'd want to get it done before their term is potentially up in about a year. So it does take a while to get a rezoning through. The other thing though is this potential all wheels park. So I think though that it's probably not a huge issue. It would be they are going to go to council in about a month, and then council would end up referring probably their proposal back to this committee. So I think that could all be discussed at that time, and I don't think that there's any reason to rush the rezoning for that purpose. I just it just all seemed to be lining up. So I wanted to make sure that the committee was aware of the skate park potentially and in conjunction with the rezoning. So that would be the only time issue that we'd have to worry about.
Well, sorry, I'm wondering if, if there are some less controversial parks that we could comfortably say that we're comfortable with the zoning change, maybe we could do it piecemeal, or is it important that it all goes through at once? Or is it more, whatever, logistically easy, simple if you do it all at once?
That might be more of a question for Xerxes, but my feeling is that we would put them all together as a package. However, if you're asking about doing it at this meeting, there may only be a couple that are more controversial that we could go through them potentially one by one at this meeting, but I don't know if people think that might take too long.
Yeah, through the chair, yeah, it would be more expeditious to do them all at once. I guess it would depend also like how many on like exactly what we take time to discuss on. But yeah, the timeline is generally just to meet the council strategic objectives.
Okay. So it looks to me like it could be possible for us to do a workshop fairly soon, next week kind of thing.
Do you mean a walkabout?
Well, I'm thinking a meeting of some kind where we'd eliminate the ones that are obvious that you know that's a good designation, and ones that we have and identify the few that we would be wanting to have a closer look at. Does that make sense to staff and committee?
I would suggest that once Xerxes passes his presentation around, that everyone could maybe have a look and say these are the ones that I'm concerned about, and maybe we can organize a walkabout based on those, because if there's really only a couple, then maybe it's not worth having a workshop over. So maybe if
I like your suggestion.
I think all the P4s are not going to be controversial, right? If we're only allowing nature protection. So half of them are scratched right there.
Yeah. Claudia, what do you think?
I agree with Carla's suggestion, and yeah, I think it would be great to have a look and determine which ones we're not sure about, and if we want to carpool and go out to them together, that would be great. And we can discuss on site. We might not need, a meeting type workshop afterwards. We'd probably be able to, understand it better as soon as we're there and looking at it.
Okay, that works for me. Phil, you were one of the other people that expressed concern. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I agree with that approach. That sounds good to me.
Okay. And Ben? Okay. So I think our decision is to have Xerxes send around the slide deck, us individually reviewing it, identifying sites of concern, and I guess contacting me as chair with your list. And then maybe between me and Claudia's chair and co-chair, we organize a walkabout. Does that make sense to everyone? I've got my thumb up.
Thumb up.
Okay, looks like that's the action we propose. I know, Sarah, you've just got that written down perfectly, and shall we move on?
Mm-hmm. I've got everything written down here. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So park rezoning. So we'll shelve that recommendation for now, but I think we will return to it either unmodified or modified soon. Okay. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Xerxes, for your presentation. And we're looking forward to the slide deck. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Here's the next one, the application for rezoning of Lot 7 on Adams Road. And I think that's with Drew. Thank you.
That's right. Just one moment while I set this up. My screen looks a little different than normal. You guys seen my presentation?
Yep.
Okay, great. So the presentation is to provide the Parks, Environment, and Climate Action Advisory Committee with a referral from council, being an application to rezone Lot 7 of Adams Road. So this application was first introduced to council at the regular meeting of May 26th, where staff presented a rezoning proposal for Lot 7 to change the zoning designation from Rural Residential 3, RR3, to Rural Residential 3C, which is RR3C, in order to facilitate subdivision into 4 lots. After several members of the public wrote letters and attended the meeting to provide information and express concerns pertaining to the sensitivity of the site's groundwater recharge potential and how that would be affected by development, council ultimately did not support the recommendation to refer the application to committees and instead passed a resolution asking staff to set up a site visit to consider information provided by the letter writers, as well as from William Schulba, and to report back to council. Following up, that site visit was carried out on July 28th and it allowed councilors and staff a closer view of the creeks and groundwater conditions and the types of foliage on site. Staff then contacted William Schulba of Islands Trust for information and reports additional some of the groundwater information that was brought up at the council meeting. So Schulba provided 2 reports that are included to my report as attachments. So the first of those reports, which is the Islands Trust Area Groundwater Potential Mapping. It includes extensive groundwater testing across several islands of study, which includes Bowen. Under point 6 in the conclusion section, he stated that the results of groundwater recharge potential sensitivity analysis indicate that the recharge potential across most of the island is not very sensitive to changes in land use and precipitation. Under the precipitation scenarios, the spatial extent of impact can be extensive. However, the magnitude of the change under those scenarios was small. On the topic of the subject property's water supply, Schulba stated that the well report provided by the applicant shows that the well tested is sufficient to supply all 4 lots. He did recommend that the applicant completes a water management plan, which is also required under BIM's land use bylaw. On the
Drew,
topic of,
sorry,
Yep.
sorry, before you go to this slide, can we go back one and would you be able to make it like full screen? Because we've got a split screen for next slide and makes the diagram really small. Thank you.
I'm not totally certain why this came up. It's different than it normally looks when I do presentations.
You're in presenter mode. And I'm not sure how to get out of it.
Maybe
but
try
uh,
display settings.
like normally hit slideshow and it'll start to makes it everything full screen. I've never had this before.
I think it's on your options when you do slideshow.
That's okay if it's proving too difficult.
Oh, okay. Drew,
Yep.
if you're on the if you're on PowerPoint and you go to slideshow on the top menu, all the way over to the right, just unclick the use presenter view.
Okay. Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
I don't know how that got activated. Let's see. Okay, now I went full screen, but it's popping up on a different screen. Okay, I don't know why I would go over there.
You can just drag it to the other screen, I think.
Unfortunately, I can't. It's full
Oh.
screen, completely full screen.
You have
That's
to stop
okay.
sharing, I
Do you
think.
want me to come and help you, Drew?
Sure, that'd be nice.
Maybe.
Or even you could zoom in on this screen and it's with the zoom bar at the bottom right.
Okay, so like I've got this on the screen. It's slideshow. It pops up over here.
I would just stop sharing, and when you share again, share the other screen.
Okay. Okay, nice. Okay, are you guys seeing it now?
There we go.
Much better, thank
Okay,
you.
great.
Yep.
So on the topic of groundwater testing, staff discussed with Shulba the applicant's concerns around carrying out multi-seasonal testing of the groundwater and how this could delay the application for a significant amount of time, requiring additional investment without assurance that the application would be supported going forward. Shulba explained that multiple pumping tests for groundwater is an unusual requirement, and that if required or recommended in most aquifers in the Islands Trust area, the dry period or times of groundwater fracture pressure and well levels are lowest is late September to mid-November, so right about now. So that would be the best time to undertake a technical assessment in the drought period. Finally, after further discussions on council's concerns with the applicant, Mike Lightbody provided an updated site plan, which we're showing now, which increases the amount of the property to be protected under a conservation covenant from 75% previously up to 83%. So the plan is, it still includes 4 lots, but it's realigned to reduce the length of the access driveway while still maintaining enough room for the vehicles to get to the northerly property. In order to make room for additional protected areas, the intended locations of the residences were moved further from the riparian areas, providing an additional 5-meter setback. And Lightbody notes that an additional envelope could be imposed to restrict the location of structures on the property. It should be noted that there are several options under the existing zoning for the applicant to develop the property, which the applicant has discussed with staff in the event that the rezoning application is not supported by council. So that current RR3 zoning designation would allow a subdivision of the property currently into 2 residential lots. In that case, while the proposal would not be subject to council's approval nor public hearing processes, staff would still have the ability to require environmental reports such as hydrogeological reports, in addition to the riparian area protections that would still be applicable. Alternatively, without pursuing any rezoning nor a subdivision process, the property could still be developed for a single-family dwelling with allowable lot coverage of up to 1,500 square meters. In that case, the municipality would not have the ability to require additional environmental reports beyond those addressing riparian area protections, which again would still be in effect. So in conclusion, based on information provided by William Shulba of Islands Trust, it appears that the groundwater recharge potential of the subject property is not overly sensitive to changes in land use. As well, the hydrogeology tests to investigate groundwater conditions on site may be carried out during the dry season of late September to mid-November and do not need to be tested during multiple seasons. So the applicant has further supported the municipality's concerns around the sensitivity of the site through submitting a new site plan that places additional areas of the property under covenant protection. The applicant is also prepared to commission a hydrogeological study of the property, which we're working with them currently. So staff's recommendation to council was that the application be referred to committees for comment, and while the applicant carries out hydrogeological testing on the property. So in this way, the environmental concerns of the property can be further investigated by the applicant while the application makes its way through the committee referral process rather than being halted completely. So that'll turn things over for discussion. There was a question specific to the committee here that we wanted to pass on, which was that so looking at this site plan, we've got now 83% of the property protected, and the method of doing so that the applicant proposed was through a conservation covenant. But we did want to pitch the idea for discussion of just whether the committee here would rather see that protection happen through a designation as a municipal park for that same area, or if conservation covenant does sound agreeable. So thank you.
Hey, thank you, Drew. Any comments from committee members? Ben?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, maybe I missed it. How big is the original lot, and then how big will the subdivided lots be?
So the original lot is just shy of 11 acres, and each one was going to be around 2.75 acres.
So I must admit that I've missed the William Shulba report, and a lot of my comments were about groundwater recharge. With looking at the consultant's report from Whitehead and what's the big name? Diamond Head. there was a lot of information about groundwater seepage and that kind of thing, which for me as a biologist is saying this is a groundwater recharge area. And so I am and looking at the my concerns are about pollution from not the construction. It's the ongoing pollution that can come from a homeowner, including septic leakage and lots of other things. And the report on the water quality of Grafton Lake by just blanking out on Peter
Ross.
Peter Ross was showing that there's a lot of pollution that's coming into Grafton Lake from the watershed. And so I'm not seeing any consideration of that ongoing contamination that it's already coming from residential areas. And so and this is our major water supply from Grafton Lake. And again, I attended a presentation by Bob Turner and Rosemary Knight that were talking about, and Rosemary Knight is a groundwater expert, and she was really concerned about this area being a groundwater recharge area that would be very vulnerable to pollution from normal household activities. So I'm not seeing I'm concerned about the development here, and my other concern is about the covenant. I look at Cape Roger Curtis, its development, and there were all kinds of covenant areas put on a map, and they're not findable, and they're not enforced, and so this is a concern. So I'm just wondering if other committee members have concerns. Claudia? Oh, you're muted, Claudia.
Thank you. I think a field trip would be, a site visit would be in order. I think I've been in there before, and it's it's swampy, and I guess I'm also unclear on these maps we're looking at. The purple line that crosses on the left side, it crosses through all the lots. What does that refer to?
So that's indicating the separation between the buildable areas versus the protected areas. So the small areas with the number, the 1, 2, or 3, or 4, those are the buildable areas near the front of the lots, and all the rest where the creeks are and everything else would be the areas protected under a conservation covenant.
I see. So the northern halves of each of those lots would be under the covenant.
That's correct, yeah.
And aren't most of the wet areas on the south end?
No, definitely the creeks and everything else, the wettest areas are on the northern end. Those sites they've identified for the buildable areas are definitely the most buildable out of this whole property.
Okay.
Sue Ellen?
Thank you. I'm interested in the question that Drew put right at the very end of his presentation, which is, would the committee have a preference for it to be park rather than conservation covenant? And Drew, if I've got that wrong, please let me know. But otherwise, I think that would be very interesting discussion to have, because they're different kinds of protection. Over.
So I missed that too, Drew. Is that one of your recommendations?
Yeah, that was the point I made at the very, very end. Yeah, the question that we wanted to pass on was just, the applicant has proposed it as a conservation covenant with the protection, protecting the areas that we've pointed out there. But yeah, totally valid question. Should the municipality instead pursue having this done as a, have that same area dedicated to be a municipal park? Yeah, just wondering if that addressed the committee's concerns better.
It certainly would address mine better. The other questions I have are there's a proposed kind of loop trail that goes through the wettest part of the wettest area, and I'm just wondering who would maintain that?
Are you asking, like, through the chair, are you asking in either scenario?
Yeah, well, in any development scenario where the trail's built, I guess if it became a municipal park, the municipality would maintain it. But if it was a covenant area, who would maintain it?
That's a good question. I know.
Oh, I see Claudia. I'm sorry, Carla has her hand up.
Yeah, well, Carla.
I guess I'm not 100% sure, but generally speaking, any trails would probably become a municipal right of way. Like we'd have a right of way agreement in favor of the municipality, and then maintenance would become a municipal responsibility unless it was, negotiated. We do have right of way agreements that where the property owner is responsible for maintenance as well. I would make one comment, just that when this came around for staff comments, that I said I would prefer not to have all these loop trails in here, and maybe that's something that the committee would also like to comment on, but I don't when you bring up the idea of maintaining them, that worries me. And I also I don't really see the value in having a loop trail around a single property. I don't think it's a good I think it's more disturbance than needs to be made. The only trail that I would want to accept within this is just a connection to the property behind, and that would be not necessarily developed right away, but I'm interested in making the connection from Adams Road up to Mount Gardner Road, and there is potential for the property behind to be developed as well. So if we can get both of those, oh, sorry, I said Mount Gardner Road, didn't I? But what I meant was Laura Road to get to the Mount Gardner trailhead.
Thank you. That makes a lot more sense to me from the just why would you have a loop trail there, and who would use it? All those kind of questions. Sue Ellen.
Thank you. If I maybe Drew, you can, or Carla, tell me if I've got this wrong, but sometimes trails through covenanted areas are put onto maps as part of a proposal, but nobody ever builds them. Even the municipality would have to come up with funds to build them in a budget, and that would take money probably from some other parks project or something like that. And then there's the maintenance that goes on. But I'm wondering if we could separate the trails question from the would a park be preferred to a conservation covenant? Because if it was just to become park, even nature park, or maybe Carla can correct me, but I think all of them allow trails. Then the question of which trails, when, how are they paid for, how often are they maintained, all of those can be decided later if it's all park. Would that be true, Carla? Or Drew?
Yeah, I would say that that's true. I think the first part of what you said, you know, there's some room to wiggle on that, as in when someone applies for a rezoning and they propose a certain trail, we could have them build that trail. In this case, though, I think you're right. We probably wouldn't ask them to build that trail until we were sure we had that connection, because there's not really any point in building a trail to nowhere, right? And so unless we had the connection, then yeah. And so it's true, we do take sometimes trail right-of-ways that that we have no intention to build like anytime soon, but yeah, for a future connection. And then we would have to build them ourselves. Yeah.
Can I do a follow-up?
Go ahead.
Just the question of whether land would be better protected as park or as conservation covenant. Having been on the Islands Trust Conservancy and having worked with parks and protected areas through my time, it seems to me that municipal conservation covenants generally are not monitored. I've seen people with not necessarily on Bowen, but some of them on Bowen, where the trees are cut and there's a little, you know, hammocky kind of yard area developed, and it might be by a landowner who's bought the land 10 years ago, and they weren't even the ones who put the conservation covenant on it. The neighbors forget, you know, I just think the level of protection would be higher if it was park, and it might leave the community more options in terms of trails in the future. And I would be interested in discussing that, because as somebody who sits on council, it would be good to get if people think on this committee think that a park would be a better idea than a conservation covenant, it would be good to get a resolution. Thank you.
Yeah, I totally agree with Sue Ellen on this. A park is a much better protection than a covenant, just for the reasons that she's talked about. And again, in my experience with conservation activities, parks do a much better job of protecting natural features. Any comments from others?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if I mean, I totally agree. I just wonder if there's anything that I'm missing. Would a covenant in any case be the better option? I mean, it seems like in the absence of putting any, you know, additional costs, you know, unloading that onto the municipality, it seems like a bit of a no-brainer to go with the park option if it's actually possible. Unless there's something that I'm not picking up on.
You're being met with stony silence, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't much of a question. I'm just like, is there any reason why a covenant might be the better option in this instance? And I certainly can't think of it, but maybe someone else can.
Claudia's got her hand up.
I guess, of course, it would depend on the designation of the park, because a conservation covenant is quite restrictive. You know, no structures can be built, things like that. Vegetation can't be removed. If it's a municipal park, the municipality can, well, depending what the designation is, there's more that can happen in it. Obviously, we've just been talking about different designations. So I think a nature park would probably give equal restrictions on what can happen there. And the conservation covenant, then the land is still under ownership of the lot owner. And I guess they have reduced taxes on the covenant areas. And otherwise it's under municipality ownership, which I think does have a stronger weight to it than privately owned, backwoods that are under a covenant that again don't get monitored. So as long as the designation is for nature park or potentially passive park, but then I think a park would be preferable to a covenant.
Thanks, Claudia. Carla.
Thanks. I would just add a couple of comments. My concern, I didn't realize that this was being proposed as a park until right now in this meeting. So I haven't thought too much about it, but we are always a bit concerned about our operational budgets and resources, and we don't, have a lot of staff to take care of additional trails and additional parks. And I think that leaving it as a nature park would mean probably less maintenance, and that in a way it makes a lot of sense to me to we do have a park across the street that protects the other side of that stream. The other concern that I would have is that is just the liability of this stream area and what's happened here in the past. And there's been pretty severe flooding and washouts in this stream. I think that it probably it's a really low lying. It has a high conservation value, but I do feel like a little bit concerned about that water rushing down and moving around. It washed out 2 very large culverts in 2021. This is the same stream that washed out the one in front of the dog park, the next one, and Buchanan Park. And so it's dynamic. So I wouldn't want those homeowners coming back to me later saying, your park is messing up my home and that kind of thing. The other concern I always have about the land is, parkland adjacent to homes is danger trees. We tend to take a park and then people call and they say, oh, you got 4 or 5 trees that are going to fall on my house. You got to go remove all these trees. So that kind of thing. But those things can probably be addressed. So those are, those are my comments on that.
Thank you, Carla. Michaeli, you're in the business of monitoring environment and things like that. Do you have any input?
I wanted to ask basically first to get some clarity on the diagram. It looks as though there's a trail that goes through the area proposed for protecting. And then is it this stream that's just south of that? If north is the up side of the page, it looks like there's a tributary that comes down from the north into the fuchsia lot. And then the main stream comes along. And then is that a wetland in the middle or eastern edge of the purple lot?
I think so.
Yeah.
Through the chair, if I can go ahead and answer.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's you're seeing streams, come down from the north through those lots. Not totally certain on the wetland designation, but I think you're correct.
Okay.
Yep.
I like the idea of restricting the trail from the lot to the north down to the eastern portion. So going through the green and the yellow, basically to connect to Adams Road and to provide access to homes in the area and behind it to Adams Road and the bus system, the transit. I have some concerns about allowing pedestrian access that close to wetlands and to fish-bearing streams. To the point where I would actually like to see it fenced if a trail goes in there, to fence on the western side of the trail to keep people out of the creek. and out of that wetland area. And I don't know if that's something that we can request or even maintain if it does become municipal park. I would also like to recommend that they consider, when they're putting in trails and accesses and things like that, clear span bridges rather than culverts through there. Mainly because of the flooding issue that we've had, but also because that is a fish-bearing stream through there. And I think that's the majority of my comments.
Yep. McKaylee, just I don't know if you had a chance to look at the Diamond Head report, but on page 11, there's a really nice diagram showing the streams and the wetlands that are in that lot, and it's very informative. So that would be the blueprint that would tell us where a trail would make sense and where it wouldn't.
Okay, yeah, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Was it attached to the minutes?
Yeah, it was attached to the agenda as a you had to click on it.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. But it's very informative, so be useful if we discuss this anymore.
Yeah, and considering also that there's a very healthy population of northern red-legged frogs in there, I'd like whatever measures to include some heavy consideration for that species as well.
Good point.
Which is provincially at risk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there interest in a site visit? I'd be interested.
I'd go.
I would be worried about a potential conflict if I went, so I would
Okay.
probably politely decline.
Okay. Well, at least two of us. And
Sue Ellen
others.
has her hand up.
Oh, okay. And Sue Ellen?
I've already been there, and it takes staff time to go there. The question from Drew left with us was, would it be better as park? Does this committee want to make a recommendation about whether it should be conservation covenant or park? And that, because if the committee wants it, thinks it should be park, or eventually it happens that way, trails can evolve as the need arises, and with more careful planning, then we might have several site visits or whatever.
Yeah.
But at this point, I think from what I gather from staff, the question of and that Ben raised, which was, is there any downside? Is there any downside to it being park rather than a conservation covenant? And I think Carla spoke to that, and council will discuss it anyway. But what I would be interested in this committee making a resolution about whether it should be park or a conservation covenant.
I think that's a really good idea, Sue Ellen, and you know, but Drew asked the question, we should answer it. So Claudia?
May I ask, are we also making a recommendation on whether this development proposal, if we support it or not? Is that what, Drew, is that what you're looking for today?
Through the chair, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're also looking for whether the committee supports this overall proposal.
Do you want me to screen share for that?
Sure.
Yeah. Drew, would you mind?
Sure.
Do committee members feel they have enough information about the property to vote today on whether we support this development proposal or not? I don't feel like I know enough about the property.
Is that working?
I'm seeing two boxes on the screen here. Minutes attachment.
Oh, wait, it's showing the wrong one. Sorry, one moment.
And while she's doing that, I'll just say I didn't realize that the committee was being asked whether or not it supported it. So I think a site visit might be a good idea. Anyway, thank you.
So that's what I have for now.
Yeah.
I can make all the changes.
I suggest we do two, break this into two things. One is, I think, we should do just whether or not we support the idea of the major lands be set aside as a park, the 83% set aside as a park, as opposed to a covenant. I think that's something we can agree on quite easily.
So, and we could add the phrase that if this development occurs, we support the idea that 83% of the land be set aside
as a park.
Yeah.
Drew?
Yes.
I just asked, does it make more sense to do the walkabout and then have a full support, do not support recommendation before doing a recommendation like this? Does it matter for you? Is this helpful to have this beforehand, or and also, are we able to do a walkabout? Is that okay with like the
landowners
and yourself and
yeah.
Yeah, the landowners have allowed, staff and council to explore previously, and I'm sure they'd have no problem with this committee doing so. And as for, I'd certainly support doing the site visit. Like, if you guys think that will affect your opinion on it in any way, which I'm sure it will, I think that'd be really effective to have that before making the statement. And yes, it's no rush.
Okay.
Hey, sounds good.
Can we specify that the park be zoned as nature park? Or type of zoning for it?
Mhm.
Can I be that bold?
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, I think the point was that we don't have to make this recommendation right now. We could go for the site visit and then have our comments and suggestions and recommendations after that.
Yeah. So I think we put the two paragraphs in a box for the next meeting after we've done the site visit. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, I can keep this.
Okay. So I guess it's time to thank Drew for your time and your smarts, and we'll get back to you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Drew.
Right.
So that's another site visit to organize?
Yep. And
potentially it could be the same day as, depending how many of the parks we're visiting.
Yeah. Okay. Updates. Climate action strategy for 2025. Carla.
Thanks, Will. So Preet is finished for the summer. We I don't think I need to give much background here. I think everybody on this committee was fairly heavily involved in the development of the update to the climate action strategy. Finished at the end of August, and I know she sent this out one more time to everyone to add their comments. And I don't believe we got anything back, unless they just went to Preet and not me, but hopefully she's already incorporated them. I have a couple of things left to edit on this, but I am going to, I wasn't necessarily going to go back to this committee, but it was just convenient that we had this meeting. And it's always good to have a recommendation to council that they adopt a certain plan, you know, so if we know it has the support of the committee, then a council can feel more confident about adopting it. So so I just wanted to give you one last chance to make any comments and hopefully to recommend to council that that they adopt the Climate Action Strategy 2025 update.
Okay. Well, I have nothing to add. Preet was a diligent worker and gave us lots of chances to comment, so I'm content. So anybody else have an input? I've seen shaking of heads from Ben and McKaylee. Claudia? No? And Phil, I can't see you, but I'm assuming you're okay? The thumbs up. So I think we can go with the recommendation.
So,
Sue Ellen.
just maybe somebody wants to move the recommendation and somebody else can second it, and then we can vote, or you can do it by consent, whatever.
Yeah. So, do we have a motion? Ben, seconder. Claudia, all in favor? Okay, carried. Okay, done like dinner. Thank you, Carla.
Thank you.
Council Committee and Islands Trust update. Councillor Sue Ellen Fast.
Thanks. I'll keep it brief. I think I'll just stick to a couple of things. One of them is that turning proposed parks, protecting them, completing the process of turning them into actual parks and completed parks is something that I brought to council as a strategy that I've had a file going since like back in 20 years ago, because I would see parks get to a certain point and then we'd all be going, well, what about that next step? It just leads to sort of confusion. And great, thank you for your input so far on that project of completing those lands being ultimately protected as park. So I'm looking forward to the next steps. The Islands Trust side of things, we met on well, I actually met on Zoom. I guess I was participating on Zoom. So Trust Council is coming up with the updated draft trust policy statement, and that's the kind of umbrella big policy legal requirements for every island's official community plan to meet when it's updated. And so it doesn't mean that everybody's official community plan needs to change right away, but eventually that's the direction that any changes in an island's OCP need to be aligned with. Anyway, so we've got a first draft of that to catch it up with some topics over the past 30 years, like climate change, housing, because other islands are losing their worker housing too, and First Nations reconciliation. So those are the big themes, but there's other things in there too. The draft is out. If you see it and you want to comment on it, please do. I think it's going to our official community plan update committee is the one that's actually working on it. But a lot of it is about environmental protection, because the Islands Trust is a kind of green belt, blue belt, I guess you could say. It's a kind of protected area in my view. Of course, there are many voices, including some trustees, who would prefer it not be as protected. And so that's the kind of dynamic that's playing out right now in the update process that the Islands Trust is doing. And then the final thing is we've got a Howe Sound Community Forum coming up. It's possibly this Friday. It may get bumped, and but that's about Bowen's part of the Howe Sound communities that all work together and talk together and network together and understand the whole bigger environment of Howe Sound together better, and that's also now part of the Howe Sound Al Kitsum Howe Sound Biosphere Reserve, which is part of the worldwide UN system of biosphere protection. Anyway, so those things are happening, and otherwise, thank you. And anybody got any questions?
Well, thank you, Sue Ellen. Succinct and informative. Thank you. Okay, now we go to staff updates with Carla.
Thank you, Will. Okay, so the first thing on my list there is the European green crab. I have some very unfortunate news, and we haven't announced this yet, but lucky you get to be the first to hear. We found a dead European green crab on the beach in Mannion Bay, and that was during one of our sampling days that we did this summer. We sample once a month as part of our early detection and monitoring program for European green crab. This is the first instance of anything being found within Howe Sound. So it is really kind of terrible news, but we're not panicking yet because it was dead. We think it was probably a molt, but we do know that it could have been carried in by a predator. It could have been discarded by a boat. It could have been carried in by the tide. There's, a variety of things that could have happened. So we're not sounding any alarm bells, but this is something that's happened, and we're on our toes. So we're working with DFO. We've done some additional sampling. We can't do any more sampling for this season just because the tides don't line up anymore. But I did want to show you our volunteers this year are Fraser Elliott and Di Izdebski. And Di made us this beautiful illustration. There you go. Which is really nice for us to have and to be able to
good.
share. Yeah, it's kind of beautiful, and I mean, as much as you don't want to appreciate a picture of a European green crab, it's really pretty. And then and I think it just communicates all of the really distinguishing features really well. And we haven't really found a lot of resources that do that all in one kind of photo or illustration. So and then it gives like the two crabs that you're most likely to find on the beach on Bowen here, and shows you kind of the difference between those. So we're really appreciative to Di for doing that for us, and we'll be sharing that soon. That was just ready today. So we've been sharing some extra communications about it, trying to just get the word out that people should be vigilant when they're on the beach and just checking to see if they find any. So we'll more on that, I guess, next season.
McKaylee's got a hand up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to know what the closest documented occurrence or population of that species is.
So I think the closest one is I forget the name of the beach. Possibly, is it Crescent Beach? It's near White Rock.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, it is available on the maps. I think the thing that I linked to there, or maybe it's a 2-pager, and I think there's a map on the back side of it from DFO, and that would have the locations there. Okay, so capital projects. So we've installed the Grafton Lake toilet, the toilet at the Grafton Lake parking lot, which I was surprised that we didn't get any negative commentary back on that. So, but really happy about that. We released an FAQ at the same time, and I don't know, if that was very helpful, if anybody actually read it, but it's just good to know what a vault toilet is and to understand that all of the waste is contained within a vault rather than seeping into our drinking water. And so hopefully that was well understood, and the toilet is appreciated in such a popular recreation area.
Yeah, and it's essential to on a well-used trail to have a facility, because you know what happens if there isn't? You see little white blobs in the forest.
Yeah, I think you see those everywhere regardless.
Yeah.
But it sure helps,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that finished up. We also finished up the stairs beside the old municipal hall leading up to Kate's Hill. They're used a little less now that Municipal Hall isn't in that same location, but they're still a pretty popular commuter route. So that's finished up. And then I don't know, can't remember when the last time we met was, but Kate's Hill, or sorry, not Kate's Bay Beach was done earlier this year. I think that's pretty much it for capital projects for my update on those. And then, and we're doing repairs right now to Miller's Landing Beach, a couple of smaller repairs, replacements of the stairs there. And at Cape Roger Curtis, there's a repair to the stairs on the trail along the Seawalk Trail. Otherwise, the Regional Climate Collaborative. So I'm a part of a climate collaborative that's run by ICLEI, and ICLEI doesn't stand for anything anymore. It used to at one point, I think, but like it got lost in the shuffle somewhere. But they're kind of a big name in like the climate adaptation world, and they do a lot of work. They're like I think they're a not-for-profit, but they work with a lot of municipalities on climate action. And so I'm part of a regional collaborative. It's communities from all around kind of the Sound, but then like going in, it's a North Coast kind of focus. So what is it? Anyways, it goes into all the way into Vancouver. So North Vancouver, West Vancouver, and then over to like the Sunshine Coast and up to Squamish. So we're working on a grant application right now. The initiative is really trying to implement climate adaptation actions. It's a federally funded group, and they work on these grant applications for us, and their whole purpose is to get to implementation. They don't want to keep planning, they want to implement stuff. So they're applying for a grant that's coming up soon, and we want to create climate resilience hubs. So those would be places, they could be physical, online, but places where people could either prepare for or respond to climate emergencies, climate hazards or risks. So for our part, I think that we're going to apply to potentially build a couple more of the NERP kiosks and upgrade the kiosks that we have with some emergency equipment as the NERPs kind of pictured when at the outset of the project. So that's what's happening there. The Grafton Lake Watershed Management Plan, RFP, I was hoping to get that out like today, potentially tomorrow. But it's coming along. It was set back a little bit because of the climate action strategy updates. So that's coming out soon. And FCM grant programs, water master plan. I don't know if I should talk about them too much, but we just have been doing a lot of applying for grants lately. So I think that there's a lot in the works with adaptation regionally and just amongst the municipality here, municipal staff. We're working really hard to get some grant funding to do some additional planning. So that's probably all I'll say about that for now. And then House and Forms, Sue Ellen already talked about. So that's probably it for me.
Okay. And so the last thing is information items for us to digest, and that's the strategic plan, which we've I think already seen, but it's good to be on top of it. And we can, Sue Ellen.
That's just always there for reference.
Yeah.
In case we need it in the meeting. And I'm just back to Carla. There's a shoreline cleanup assessment technique training at the bottom of your list. What?
Oh, sorry about that. I guess I just didn't scroll down all the way on the page. So that's just something I just heard about, and I wanted to throw it onto the agenda just to kind of gauge if anyone was interested in taking some training for shoreline cleanup assessment techniques, SCAT training. It's a free program. It's offered through Environment and Climate Change Canada. They don't have a lot of available courses right now, but I'm talking to them about offering a course here on Bowen, and that would probably be for some of the Gulf Islands together, some Islands Trust islands, and then but it is appropriate. There's a 1-day course or 1-day workshop, and then there's a 3-day training that's more specific, but it would be open probably to volunteers. Anyone that pictures themselves helping and being on the ground in the event of a spill. Oil spill, yes. Would be welcome to take the training, and it would be free. So if you wanted to let me know if you're interested, Michaela, I can see you kind of nodding, or if
yes.
is interested, because we would I'm just trying to kind of collect names and numbers and yeah, check on the interest level of that.
Yeah, I think two groups, the Bowen Nature Club and the Bowen Conservancy, probably have a number of members that would be interested in that. And as with another hat, I'm a co-chair of the Bowen Nature Club, so I could maybe, if you send me some information, I can distribute that to the membership.
Yes, I can definitely do that. It's pretty early days, or well, yeah. I'll see if I can send something preliminary and then just try to gauge interest.
Yeah, great. Oh, Sue Ellen.
Thank you, Carla. I was interested in that because I remember way back, like maybe almost 10 years ago, or whenever that spill was, that was the ship in English Bay, and the spill came out as far as Lighthouse Park. Maybe it was you, Carla, in the office who was getting phone calls from Bowen Islanders going, what do I do? I've got my rubber boots on. I've got some rags. And that's actually dangerous, because that oil that spilled is pretty toxic, and you wouldn't even want to track it back into your house, let alone go down there with your kids and buckets and stuff. So thanks for looking into that, and please sign me up. Put me on your interested list. Yeah.
I would recommend reaching out to Island Pacific School too as well. Allison, the science teacher, would probably be all over that, the kids.
It's kind of a community safety thing, because we need more of us that would know, would help keep all the helpful people back, or help them know what to do. Anyway, I'll stop there. Thanks, Carla.
All right. And so I'm going to open the floor to questions from the crowd that's here, and then I guess I hear nothing. So I think it's time to wrap up. I think we'll leave organizing the next meeting to Sarah, who does that so brilliantly, and because we don't have all our members here, us deciding when probably doesn't make sense without the input from the others.
It sounds as though you have a couple of field trips as well that you're going to go on. So we'll get those out of the way and see if there's any follow-up workshop or anything like that you would like to do, or whether we just go straight into another meeting.
Great. Thanks,
Okay.
Sarah.
You're welcome.
And it's time for me to declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming. It's always great to see all these folks and use your big brains. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Nice.
Okay. Bye, everyone.